and they'll be making their way onto the grid before their green flag lap. Well, that gives us a perfect time then to walk away through the grid. Now remember, this grid for what is round number 11 of the Junior Saloon Car Championship is set based on the second fastest qualifying laps from our drivers from the qualifying session yesterday, and that's why you can see Oliver Kerr there taking pole position with a brilliant pole lap that was almost 3/10 faster than Josh Salvadore's lap that starts him in second. Wolf Butler will line up third there ahead of Max Scharfegger, who moving forward in that pace and very eager to chase those top fives and looking to move forward. And he was saying to me in the build-up to this weekend he felt good in practice, but he didn't know how good he was in qualifying. Well, there's his answer. Fourth place on that grid. He's going to be absolutely happy with that one. Kyle Wells will be starting there fifth on the grid ahead of Luca Maserati, and then we will have Ollie Smith and Lewis Standard line up together on row number 4. Then it's going to be Lewis Austin and Martin Wright who will line up together there and get themselves absolutely ready to go. And Martin Wright, of course, what is our scholarship winner for 2025 and on the grid there and looking to push forward after what's a great race earlier today. And then going on to what is the second half of our grid, what will be Matthew Swatton, who lines up best of the rest in 11th place ahead of Leon Holly. And then we do have Timothy Leonard and Joe Wood on row number 7 together there, with Sherry Ann Powell starting in 15th ahead of Tom Olgar. And then we do have Lexi Powell there completing your starting order. And well, what an order we have there. All 17 our drivers absolutely itching and ready to go, and well, we're looking forward to seeing what they're going to be able to achieve. But of course, we're just about to get that green flag lap underway. We can see the flag being waved there. We do have a vacant spot down the grid, and I believe that might be for the wounded car from earlier that we did see have to be carried off the circuit effectively. And just trying to remember whose car that was. I believe that might have been what was the car of Joe Wood, although don't quote me on that, ladies and gentlemen. I may be incorrect on that one, to be fair, but we did have that incident earlier on that did see one of our runners not able to make it out there. And well, as all of our drivers make the way on through here, we're going to expect another brilliant 15 minutes of racing action between them all, for the simple reason we saw some superb racing in what was race number 1 of the day, where it was close racing action, door-to-door contact, and the non-finishers from race number 1, as I've just got my data updated here, Lewis Austin, Sherry Ann Powell and Leon Holly. Well, I did see, I think that was, what was that, Sherry Ann Powell on the grid there. I'm not sure if I saw Leon Holly, but I don't know if I saw Lewis Austin either. We are just double-checking on that one. I'm double-checking here in the Conte booth, and I think we are missing what might be the car, excuse me, of what is Leon Holly. I think that was the car that was vacant there, but we'll know when we do go green flag racing, and well, we'll very quickly fill you in on that, because I think we've got 16 runners here. But as they all make the way on down in towards what we turns 3 and 4, right now smoothly making the run down. They're getting those tyres warmed up as best as humanly possible again. No sign in the cloud break at the moment. It is getting brighter here, but still this circuit yet to see a shade of sunshine, and therefore it is looking all 50 shades of grey with regards to the clouds out there. But one thing right now, we're going to be piercing through that greyness with some brightness of brilliant racing action from future stars in the motorsporting world in the United Kingdom, as they all make their way towards their starting positions, and we're all absolutely set. And well, thinking about the championship coming into this weekend, of course, Luca Maserati was leading by only 2 points over Wilf Butler, and Josh Salvadore was a further 2 points behind. But all 3 of them have had a mixture of results, and all 3 of them now are joint on victories, what with the Brands Hatch race yesterday going to Luca Maserati, and the victory for Wilf Butler earlier on, meaning that Maserati, Butler and Salvadore all have 3 wins apiece. However, look out for Ollie Smith in particular. He's been going extremely well here so far. He's picked up his first 2 podiums here at Silverstone. Can he make it a third? Can he even go for victory? Well, there's only one way we're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen, and that is to see how it all unfolds in this race. Well, they're all on the grid, and we await the lights. And with the 5-second countdown is on, so all the drivers will be building up those revs. The red lights are on. And it's lights out, away we go for round number 12 of the Junior Saloon Car Championship, the JSCC, as they roar the way away here. And going on down, it's immediately a big scramble down towards turn number 1. But you can see going absolutely defensive is Kerr there, trying to hold on to his well-crafted pole position. And as he makes his way for the right-hander there and going on down in towards what will be turn number 2 now in the long run, which I've been referring to incorrectly as the Maggots hairpin. It's the Beckett's hairpin. And thank you to all those of you calling in on the YouTube chat to correct me on that on both of the streams. As they make their way down to the braking zone here, whether it's Maggots or Beckett's, there's going to be plenty of fighting. And Salvadore there falling backwards into third, under some increasing pressure then from what will be Wells looking up the inside. Scharfegger also having a decent start there, but I think falling back to 5th, but I think just settling into the rhythm. And now they make their way down to the Wellington straight here. All drive safely on through for the opening lap of this race, or at least the opening half a lap I should say, and coming down at what will be the Wellington straight. We've got a bit of 2x2 action further down the order. I think that might be Wright and Swatton having a little bit of a squabble, but into the braking zone here, in towards Brooklands they go, and well, it is still, where's the car of Kerr that leads, and well, behind him, it does look as though there that it might be Butler who's snuck his way up the order, and Wolf Butler definitely the man on a charge. But coming on through, and the top 6 start to peel away as the rest of the field gets caught up there behind what is the luminescent green machine's wheels, and that is the car Scharfegger there, I think, who's just started to put a little bit of bottom on the field. Max Scharfegger doing as much defensive work as he can through Woodcock Corner. And onto the start-finish straight they go, and as they make the way up towards what will be turn number 1, with 1 lap complete, and it is Kerr still ahead of Butler, with Salvador right behind Wells, meanwhile, up in the 4th place, ahead of Maserati and Smith. Side by side here is Smith versus Scharfegger, as they come on through, a little bit of contact between the two of them. You can see a big run wide there from what is Standard right behind, so Standard opting to take a little bit of an evasive line there in order to get involved in the fighting, and in towards the braking zone they go for what is turn number 2, once again, going through Beckett's hairpin, and as they make the way all the way through, a big run wide there from what is our race leader of Kerr. He's not going to keep getting away with that too often, otherwise he will be subject to some track limit penalties in due course. But I think right now everyone just settling down into that rhythm. But as they roar the way on out there, well, we do get some confirmation from Lewis Turkington in the TCR UK chat. Thank you to Lewis Turkington for saying the fact that we are missing what is 12 drives in the form of Powell, and also I do believe Sherry and Leonard. But as they make the way on down in towards what will be the next braking zone and roaring the way on through, what is going to be under braking there, no change at the moment. And well, will we see a potential move between Scharfegger and what will be his rival behind? I don't think so. But as they come up towards what will be the end of this lap then, well, it's starting to look a lot like the battling's going to be in the midfield here, as we do have what is the number 14 of Wright has got past Austin on that lap, in fact, and now trying to make a little bit more progress here in the hunt for 8th place. And Wright definitely making some early moves here in the Silverstone races. He did some early runs today, and now he's doing it once again here. It's a big ride from Standard there, takes a trip to the outside, lets the car roll out wide, decides to straighten out the steering wheel and just carry the speed, and also carry the track warnings limit with it. But as he heads down into the braking zone here of what is turn number 2, well, everyone has started to come through, and Maserati there close behind the 448 of Wells. Wells gradually pulling away here. I know we've got quite a few Wells fans in what is the Bark YouTube chat who are cheering on the 448 driver, and he's roaring his way along as best he possibly can. As he does so, losing the top 3 slide, that gap now open up to half a second, which doesn't sound like much, but given how short the lap is here and how it is submachine pack racing, therefore that amount of time is going to feel sizable. You want to be within 3 tenths ideally to really maximise the tow as the lead car starts to punch its way through the air in front. But through turn number 4, through the right hander they go, and right now it is looking as though the Simpson Powermobile of what is Kerr absolutely charging away here as they make the way up to the next lap. Well, but I think it really is a game of what is cat and mouse here, and I don't think he's just going to be able to pull off into the distance, is Kerr. And, well, for Oliver Kerr, keeping in mind that he is an independent, well, he's a leading independent into this weekend in terms of championship, and so far this season, Kerr has yet to take an overall victory. And, well, right now, I think he's going to be absolutely hands glued to that steering wheel chasing his first victory if he can pull it off. I think there's going to be jubilant celebrations up and down the paddock for him and his family. But as they roar the way up towards what we turn number 2 this time, well, Butler was getting a bit closer. Further on back there, Scharfegger still under pressure from what is Austin now. 2 wide here in the battle between the 28 and the 23. And, well, I believe, in fact, that is the 30 number. That is the 26, in fact, as my eyesight gets adjusted there. And as they make the way out of the corner, that is going to be still what is Scharfegger being passed by Austin. Austin up now into what is 9th place there. A quick dive to the inside gets it done there. Scharfegger right now not quite on the pace, and I don't know whether he's happy with the feeling of the car. But we come all the way from the battle towards the back of the top 10 to what is a run wide there for what is your 4th place runner of Wells. That's going to be Maserati up his inside to outside. So Maserati now moves up into 4th place there, and just in time as well, because I think he's very eager to close up to the leaders, because that top 3 is gradually pulling away as the rest of the field makes its way onto the next lap. And, well, we do have a runaway set of leaders here as they charge their way on round. But as they come in towards what will be turn number 1 this time, as they race around the Silverstone National Circuit, in towards turn 1 they go this time. And, well, Kerr, they're definitely feeling a lot of pressure from Butler. Butler firmly within 2.5 tenths now, and Salvador, meanwhile, a further 4 tenths back. We can see there what is Austin staying very close versus the back of what is Scharfegger. And in fact, we thought Austin had gotten through. I think Scharfegger got back ahead of him coming out of what was Luffield Bend, and under braking they go in towards Maggots and Beckett, and through the Beckett's hairpin they do go a bit of a step wide there from what was the car of Smith, the number 80, just in the foreground of the camera shot. Austin very close. They get a really good run in through Beckett's hairpin, but as he comes out of the corner, he's going to find a face full of Scharfegger's rather grey rear of the machine as he makes his way on down towards what will be Brooklands. But as we come from that fight back towards the very front of the field, well, everything's to play for between these drivers as they come in towards what will be turn number 3. And you can see as well how Salvador is falling back a little bit here, but I wonder whether he's been told prior to this race, if you can't take the lead in the opening lap, sit back, save the tyres, keep the car nice and cool, and attack later on, because the drivers in front are going to try and attack each other, and they may take the life out of their cars and indeed take life out of their tyres. Well, if so, it might be a very smart opportunity there for Kerr to just gradually build himself into that run. But through Woodcote they go, on to the next tour of the circuit, and as they go through, are there any changes this time around? No, there's not. Smith, meanwhile, does set a personal best of the race, and that is a 13.17 to the nearest 100. A good run there. We do have what is a race time penalty of 10 seconds being applied to the car of Leonard down in 13th, the number 29, and just checking as to why that is. Not quite sure at the moment why the 10 seconds is being applied. I'm sure we'll get an update on TSL in due course as to the reasoning, but as our drivers make their way around, coming from what is statistics and timings to what is live on our screens, and the triple two occur, starting to open up a little bit more of a gap. Well, Butler was incredibly close going on to this lap. I think he's made a bit of a ham sandwich out of what is turns at 1 and 2, and as they make their way down the Wellington straight, Kerr will feel a little bit safer this time. I think Oliver Kerr was starting to feel as though that Butler was getting close, and a bit too close, as Butler tries to make it a 4th win of the season and become the leading winner in the championship. But over the apex, one of our drivers goes there, decides to do a bit of yard trimming there coming on through Brooklands. I believe that might have been the car of what was Wells there, trying to get a bit more aggressive versus Maserati, but Maserati nailing that line and going as defence if he needed to. And now on to what will be the start-finish straight, and Maserati here not able to pull away. He doesn't have the ability to get close enough to Salvador, and this is going to be frustrating for Maserati, because he knows as championship leader coming into this weekend, the Brands Hatch race yesterday took the victory. Be very happy with that, but was a 4th place in race number 1. Race number 1 didn't really produce what he wanted, and I wonder whether they're perhaps having set the car up, they haven't been able to get the tyre pressures quite right yet for the cooler conditions here, because it was much cooler this morning compared to how it was yesterday when we had that brilliant sunshine towards the afternoon of the Saturday, and we did see that track temperature considerably higher. But now, definitely without the sun coming directly over the circuit, it is a much cooler circuit. But as we come here to the 333 of what is Powell there, and the 333 of Lexi Powell will still running out there, but I believe all the way down the order, I'm not quite sure what's happened, but running the best part of 20 plus seconds off of Ulgar, who's running in full team. So I wonder if there's been a bit of an incident or a mistake for Lexi Powell, and with the 333 Motorsport driver definitely right now just trying to soldier on to the end to get to that checker flag, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. When you're not having a good day, still get to that checker. But as our drivers make their way on around through Luffield, well, now you can definitely see how the fight for third is becoming one pack, and then the leaders are starting to break away. The gap between Salvador and what was Butler going on to the previous lap was, I do believe, a second. But as they come around to go on to this next lap, what's it going to be? Well, Kerr and Butler cross the line, practically joined at the hip. Meanwhile, Salvador a lot further back this time, and now 1.2 seconds behind. So therefore, our leaders are charging off into the distance, and it's going to be Salvador who's going to have to look behind him for the remainder of the race distance here, unless the leaders really start to scrap. But I wouldn't be surprised if Butler's trying to work with Kerr in order to open up that lead and essentially put it all down to the last 2 to 3 minutes, which is where he'll start to go for those moves, because they're on such good pace with each other. The fastest driver out there at the moment, he's set a 1 minute 12.978, is Oliver Kerr. Everybody else in the 13s or higher. So Oliver Kerr right now, I don't know what he's had since the previous round of racing, but I can tell you one thing, he's definitely come alive. Whether they've given him what is a little bit of orange juice, or alternatively just told him, you know what, go for it. Well, right now he's definitely energised up, because he's roaring his way at the front of the field, and as much as Butler can push him, Butler's not pushing hard enough. But coming through what is Brooklands then, well, these two started to push away. You can definitely see these lines now started to cut much more aggressively as Butler's trying to cut bits of the circuit here in order to try and find where he can gain that speed, and that will be frustrating for Butler, because even with the draft down the Wellington Straight and on the National Straight, he's not close enough to really think about a move. Salvador, meanwhile, well, I think he's got too much to think about the drives in front, albeit I think he'll keep his eyes in the front of the road, but every so often his right eye might just look in his right-hand wind mirror and think to himself, are they close enough to look for a move here as they head in towards Cops Bend? Well, the answer is, with 5 minutes to go, Maserati and Wells are not, but Maserati is much closer. Smith is still on the back of this as well, so we have got an absolutely brilliant rat pack of cars here ruining the way on around. And of course there's the battle for the lead, and then there's the battle for the final spot of the podium, and who's actually going to be in that top 5. So right now these JSCC machines absolutely delivering these little Citroen Saxos, so they come down into the braking zone, all front engine, front wheel drive of course, so therefore having to manage understeer and make sure as they use those front tyres up, that tyre life doesn't come back to pinch them. But speaking of some understeer there, carrying a bit too much speed as well, well, that is Wright trying to chase after standard, with Wright having dropped the shaft figure only what was about 3 or 4 laps ago. That gap really opening up to 1.5 seconds, but Wright is closing, as here we see the first big move of Wes Butler trying to go round the outside of Oliver Kerr. Wolf Butler there trying to do everything he can, but Kerr simply says, well, that's that's all great, that's some brilliant theatrics, but guess what I can do? I can just park the car on the inside of Luffield, and you're going to have to follow the leader. But Butler definitely revealing his hand now with 4 minutes left on the clock. I think he's decided, okay, we've only got 5 minutes left in the race as the lap he's gone on to, and now the subsequent one, and he's going to be thinking to himself, I have to deliver a move, because the gap to Salvador, 1.5 seconds plus, and he would have got that potentially from what is the pit lane straight. You will have seen team members there hanging out what is the boards to essentially tell their respective driver, this is the gap to the car in front or the gap to the car in behind, and alternatively might just be the word saying, push now, you've got 3 laps remaining. They can feed whatever information they can on that board, or I can tell you, it looks simple, those boards, but they are very hard to get the information in correctly and concisely. But right now, everyone doing a fantastic job here, keeping concise those track limits. Oh, a big lock up there on what was, I believe, the rear for Salvador, and as he came up through the corner, we got it stopped in time, but that was looking almost very sideways there. I think he was going from understeer to oversteer as quickly as I can click my fingers. Well, as he makes his way down the Wellington Straight, as Salvador showing some great car control, and that's why he's definitely one of the big title contenders for this season, albeit we've got plenty of rounds in the championship to go. And Kerr, meanwhile, holding off Butler once again. And as Oliver Kerr there brings the car in through Brooklands into Luffield this time, well, the thing he's going to be thinking about at this point is, okay, well, it seems like Butler stepped it up a gear. What can I do to step it up a gear? But he's got to keep reminding himself every single time as he makes his way on around the simple fact that he doesn't need to do anything other than hold track position. But from them, it's now getting very feisty in the battle for full place. This is going to be Wells up the inside of Maserati in the 448 there. Wells trying to get back at Maserati, who did steal it away from him about 6 laps ago. So these two have been playing peaceful, but now they're going on full war as they come in towards Cops Bend. Too wide they enter. Smith, meanwhile, just stays on the inside there watching what's going on. Maserati is going to have the space on the outside. Brilliant racing between them. Smith thinks, do I dare make it 3 wide? Do I not make it 3 wide? He decides in the end to stay safe and tuck in behind. I think being patient, but coming down into the braking zone here. It's still too wide here in towards the Beckett's hairpin, as we will see Maserati look around the outside of Wells. Through the right hander they go, and Maserati in the end all the way on the outside. We will have the longer distance to accelerate through. Wells on the shorter line, he'll get the lead initially, but now here comes Maserati just gradually pulling ahead, and Wells in the end will fall backwards there. But how far back will he fall? And you can see just a bit further back, that is Smith. Oh, over back, he's going to make it 3 wide here as Smith takes a look up the inside, but it's a dummy and he feints the inside, tries to get Maserati to run deep, get both of them to run out wide. Then it's going to be then what is Wells cutting back to the outside as they head round through Luffield Bend. Contact between the two of them, a little bit of a rub there, but rubbing is racing, some would say, and I think they're enjoying it right now as they make the way out of turn number 4 and up towards what will be the start line they go, and it will be another 2 laps of racing we're going to be credited to here. But there are going to be also some time penalties that are going to be factoring into this race as well, not for these drivers, so we won't talk about those penalties right now. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but there's confirmation as they make their way through. It's Kerr, Butler who are the leaders, and they are 3 seconds clear almost of Salvador in third, with Maserati back up to 4th, and Wells and Smith are right on the back of that hunt for 4th place. And charging away off into the distance then, and well, we can see Salvador has gradually pulled away in third, away from Maserati, so I think that final spot of the podium, unless something unexpected happens, will be going the way of the Lightning McQueen machine, the 110, and really we should talk about the team he's actually racing for there, and I do believe racing for MRM, the team, as though, although we do give it the nickname, given the fact it does have that wonderful livery on the machine. But as they come down the backstretch here for the penultimate time of racing in this round of the championship, we can see Kerr and Butler, they are right now a little bit of distance, just taking it nice and easy here, but I can imagine the next lap we're going to really see Butler mount the pressure. Orbit goes very late on the brakes. In fact, I think he misanticipated his braking zone spike. You can see the car stepping slightly wide, just carrying a bit more speed than he wanted to. But I think also Butler potentially seeing, okay, how much braking potential do I have? How much grip do I have? But meanwhile, oh, that's getting very tasty there between what is Wells and Maserati as they give a bit of a rub to each other coming out of Luffield Bend. I think that might have been what was Maserati there, just trying to simply squeeze his way out the inside. I think Wells had got back ahead. We'll get an update on that when they come across the line, and I think in the rear of the picture that is Maserati still in 4th there, so Maserati hold on to that position literally by a hair's width. And as they come in towards turn number 1, well, right now Wells is very eager, he's showing every sign of wanting 4th place, but he's still got to get ahead. Smith is just watching in the distance, and I can imagine for Ollie Smith right now, the leading rookie, he doesn't want to get involved in this unless he absolutely has to. But on the braking zone in towards turn number 3, well, you see Salvador there with a small lock up, but here comes Wells looking up the inside. Maserati gives him the breathing room to believe he can go for a move. Maserati runs out wide there, and well, it's going to give him a little bit of more speed advantage as he makes his way onto the backstretch. This is the final lap of racing for round number 11 of the championship. As they come down into the braking zone, they're back to the leaders. Kerr going defensive once, and you can see Butler there thinks about it. He thinks twice, looks the inside, but Kerr sees it coming and says, no, you don't. I'm going to make this turn absolutely abysmal for you. But meanwhile, that is Maserati there with what is Wells, and as Wells looks inside, takes the grass. It's contact between the two, and they go sideways, and in there says Maserati spinning off the circuit, and Smith will pick up the place. But as the checker flag gets ready to wave, it'll be side by side between the drivers back here, and in the end it is going to be his first win of the season. Goes to have Oliver Kerr. He was third yesterday, second this morning, and he takes his first victory. 3 podiums back to back ahead of Wilf Butler. Salvador is third. He'll wrap up the podium ahead of Wells. Then it will be Smith in fifth, who takes the rookie win, and then it will be Max Scharfegger in sixth ahead of Austin, followed by Maserati, who recovers to 8th in the end, and we will see time penalties applied of 5 seconds for track limits to standard and right, I believe, and that will demote them down to 9th and 10th respectively. And well, as they all call on down here, well, Kerr there and Butler having a brilliant race, but in the end, Oliver Kerr demonstrating all the way through, as your winning independent as well, that sometimes track position and just having a little bit of pace in your pocket is all you need to take victory at Silverstone National. And what a drive there. So here are the results, ladies and gentlemen, for round number 11 of the Junior Saloon Car Championship for 2025. 40 from Silverstone National today, and as we can see, Oliver Kerr, subject to any assurance inquiries, so all these results, of course, taking victory after 13 laps of racing by 4 attempts over Wilf Butler in a brilliant defensive drive. Josh Salvador was third there, and in the end, I think you feel as though that was a deserved third, as though the pace is coming back, but the flip side of the coin being that he wanted to be in the lead battle, but couldn't quite be there. Carl Wells finished fourth in the end, receiving what was the place as a result of that contact between himself and Luca Maserati. They'll have their own interpretations, but I think they did get very aggressive towards the end, and the stewards might have an eye on that one. Ollie Smith taking the rookies win, a 5th place there as well. A brilliant drive for him, and Ollie Smith enjoying what is only his second top 5, well, it's only his third top 5 of the season after that 2nd place earlier on yesterday. We then saw Max Scharfegger in 6th ahead of Lewis Austin, with Luca Maserati recovering to 8th ahead of Lewis Stannard and Martin Wright to complete the top 10. Matthew Swatton 11th, best of the rest there, ahead of Joe Wood, with Timothy Leonard and Tom Algar completing your top 14. Fastest lap of the race went to your race winner, a 1 minute 12.97, the only driver to set a 1 minute 12 in this race. A brilliant drive there from Oliver Kerr, and he's going to be absolutely ecstatic in that triple two when he gets out of it, because I do believe, yep, that is indeed his first win of the season there. He's had a couple of podiums and will absolutely delivering a fantastic job, and that first win has been coming for a long time. Given the fact that coming into this weekend he was in 5th place in the championship on 153 points, he will be moving upwards, and in fact I think he'll be putting some pressure on the top 3, given the fact it's been the Maserati Butler Salvador equation, and suddenly we find that Oliver Kerr is becoming a new variable in it. As all of our drivers make the way into Parc Fermé, I believe we will be getting some interviews with our drivers shortly, and I can imagine how much energy there is going to be from Oliver Kerr. But let's find that out. Let's cut to Jack down in Parc Fermé.
Classic Junior Saloon Car Championship racing there, really, wasn't it? It was fantastic to see, fantastic to watch. All the cars are coming in now, and we're hoping to have some very smiley drivers. I'm wondering whether they can remember my GCSE question. I'm not going to ask that. I'll do them again, don't worry. There's some people in the comments who pointed out that they want to go racing, not do GCSE prep. Well, you have to do both. Right, let's have there's some claps to the right-hand side, thumbs up. I can see that Josh Salvador is going over to give a big well done to Oliver Kerr. And, of course, I think Wilf Butler, before we get going, I'm going to try and go through here before the track commentary, get in the way and steal the limelight. Because Oliver Kerr has got that top step of the podium finally. That must feel good.
Yeah, it was all right going from a lights to flag win. Obviously, I think we did really well as a team to set the car up. I think I lost the front a little bit towards the end, but other than that, I think it was a perfectly good race.
Yeah, but you've got to deal with these things as a racing driver, haven't you? Losing the front end, the setup, it was on point from the start. That gave you the impetus to then get going and make sure you can defend that position. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, defend the position from Wilf, who obviously did a very fantastic job of keeping it with me, and obviously a very fantastic job, all props to him for keeping it nice and clean throughout the whole thing, because he's a good driver, and I think us two we knew that we could pull away, so we just pulled away, and then obviously towards the end, that's when we can start battling, and all props to him for keeping it clean.
No, it was absolutely brilliant, and congratulations. I believe that's 3rd, 2nd and 1st you've got under your belt for this weekend.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
You completed the podium, it's not bad. And you still got, I believe, one more race to go this afternoon, I think. So You're obviously hoping for another race win. Where are you starting for that one?
Pole for that one, so hopefully.
You got to convert that then. Surely that's on the cards, Oliver.
Hopefully we can do that again.
Fantastic. Well done. I wanted to keep that interview going because stood next to his brakes is actually the warmest part of the circuit right now, and I've got shorts on. Google weather lied to me this morning. Wilf Butler, I'm going to get a chat with you. I know he's in deep conversation with the race winner, but it's easy for desperation to get a hold of you in those last couple of laps. You kept it together. You know, second place is still very, very well done, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just focusing on points for the championship, really. It's so tight at the top. You can't afford to, get a bad finish. So, yeah, I just sort of stayed behind Ollie, tried making moves where I could, but nothing silly, really.
Yeah, no, nothing silly indeed. But did you see anywhere in a bit of hindsight, maybe in an hour, you'll probably think this a bit more than 2 minutes after the race is finished? Were there little parts of the circuit where you think, maybe I could have got a little bit extra, a little bit later break in, forcing him out anywhere? Is that sort of in your hindsight, or is that really something you think about straight away? It's something I always thought about straight away.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a look at data, see where he's making up a bit of time, and just see where we can gain on him, really.
Third race of the day, fourth race of the weekend is coming up soon. What's the plan? All out?
Yeah, just all out, really. Try and get another win, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a couple of weeks until you need the car again. Just go all out there and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Right then, I believe I did want to have a chat with Josh as well. Where is he? Josh Salvador. Josh, very quickly, come in. A podium position, a smile on your face. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Racing should be fun, unlike the first two races. I'm really happy for Carl as well. He got a really good result, fourth in the end after a long hard battle. But it's a really good race.
It was absolutely spectacular, and good luck for race 4 of the weekend in a little bit. Right, we have got more racing to be coming up. I think we've got 2 races before the lunch break. So by all means, I've done a pre-recorded interview. I think it's the Formula Libre next. I'm hoping so. So let's cut to that pre-recording before Paul Walsh takes you through the action.